Hello, my name is Lydia Freeman, and I am a Step 3 probationary black belt. 6 months ago, I gave my very first black belt speech, and I talked about how much my mindset and confidence had changed through Krav. This time around, when I was thinking about what to write for my speech, I was frankly at a loss. What could I say that hadn't already been said? And then I realized that there was a monumental aspect of my journey that I had left out of my last speech: teaching. When I was an orange belt, I started assisting in the only 2 classes I could, the Little Dragons and basic training. Now, at this point, I had only begun to experience the increased confidence that Krav would instill in me, which meant most of my time helping out was spent overthinking about whether it was acceptable for me to move from one side of the room to the other. It sounds ridiculous, but when you're 15, introverted, and not very confident, and trying to be a good assistant, that's the type of ludicrous stuff you worry about. But as I became more comfortable with coming up front and interacting with everyone, I realized that I was having so much fun. Once I had been helping for a little while, the sensei gave me permission to do more than just give high fives and demonstrate techniques and behavior. They began to allow me to coach here and there, with little things like, oh, switch your feet, or this is your jab, this is your cross, and other simple things that I was qualified to help students do. Now, those things may sound super simple, but when you're trying to explain this stuff to a 3-year-old, it really makes you think about how to simplify things even further. But when they finally get it and they have that light bulb moment where everything clicks, it is so worth all of the painstaking explaining that was done earlier. All of this was definitely increasing my people skills exponentially, but it was also genuinely making my own techniques better. I really began to discover the truth in the words, if you can teach it, you know it. I mean, after coming up with 7 different ways to explain how to defend against a front choke, I really felt that if someone ever really choked me, I could probably defend myself and explain to my attacker why my defense was working as I elbowed him in the face. Fast forwarding a few years, I'm not just confident in myself performing techniques, I'm confident that I can teach them. Every day I assist, I learn something new, not just from the sensei, but from the students I'm teaching. One of the biggest things I learned is that you get the energy you give. So if I want a super high energy class, I have to be high energy. If I want everyone to mellow out some and take a breather, I have to bring my energy to that level. And that doesn't just apply to teaching, it applies to everyday interactions with others too. Finally, almost a year ago, Grandmaster offered me a job, something I'm very grateful for. I didn't start as an assistant instructor, but I got there eventually. And I really realized how much fun I had teaching others. Now, everyone has a favorite sensei. That's just a fact. You may say that you don't, but you're lying, every one of you. I'm gonna come clean. Mine was Sensei Sarah. She was my favorite. Everyone else was a close second, but she came out on top. And one day, I suddenly realized that I had become somebody else's Sensei Sarah. I had students who always chose my line. I had kids who literally hung on the compliments I gave them, and they would crow about it for the rest of the day. I had brown belts telling me that I was the person who taught them their front kick regular. When I saw these things happening, I realized that I had an impact. I could change the entire outcome of a student's day. Let me tell you, my mind blew when I realized that I had that kind of influence. In fact, I'm still wrapping my mind around it. To be honest, I don't really know how to properly convey everything I've learned through teaching, but I wanted to tell you about my journey because I am so grateful to every student that has given me the opportunity to teach them. They have dealt with all of my word fumbles, backtracks, and cheesy jokes, but more importantly, they've allowed me to be an influential person in their life. And I'm so honored to have been given that chance. If I were to give advice to current and future students, I would say this. We say that a black belt is a white belt who never quit. But when you hear that, it sounds pretty daunting. Don't quit for 4 years? That sounds impossible. But if you take it a day at a time and choose not to quit in this warm-up, in that stress drill, etc., You'll be standing on this stage before you know it, and I can't wait to see you up here.